Saving America one entrepreneur at a time, it's the Biz Rap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs, it's Biz Rap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to another edition of Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining me today. We got a great show lined up for you, a very, very special guest. But before we get to our special guest for the day, let's talk a little bit about Biz Rap Radio. We are, of course, the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. Yes, we are here fighting for you, the small business people and the entrepreneurs of America. You may not realize it, but you are the true engines of our economy. You know, as we recovered from the recession, do you think it was General Motors and Citibank and Hewlett-Packard creating all of those jobs? No, it was small businesses just like you. Most new jobs are created by entrepreneurial ventures and small businesses, and most people in America work for a small business. Yeah, that's right. No, it's not the fat cats on Wall Street and the big industrial corporations that employ most people. Most people work for small businesses, and what many of you may not realize is many of those family names you see that you think are big corporations, they're really small businesses. McDonald's, a perfect example. I know we've had on the show, we've had a lady here in Los Angeles who owns 10 McDonald's restaurants. So she's a small business operator. And that is what America is all about. Yet, you know, we're under attack. The small business people are under attack. The government is over-regulating you, trying to tax you to death. The big businesses are trying to put you out of business. And, of course, the banks, the last thing they want to do is help small business, unless you want to have one of their credit cards at 25% interest to finance your business. And then, of course, they're all over you like a dirty shirt. Well, we here at Biz Rap Radio, we're trying to help you small business people. Ideas, thoughts, things you can use in your business to make more money. Yeah, you know, that's not a dirty word, making money. It's profits. You need to make a profit. Make a good, healthy profit in your business. Take care of yourself and your family. Then take care of your employees. And then take care of your community. And I love the way so many small businesses in America get involved in their local community. You know, there's a difference. If Coca-Cola sponsors the local 10K run, they're in it for one reason. It's advertising. But when a local muffler shop or a local dry cleaner, when they sponsor the football team or the baseball team, they're doing it because they want to be involved in their community, and that's what it's all about. Make money, get involved in your community, and America, believe me, will be a much greater place. But now let's get on with the show. The most important part, our very, very special guest. And I'm going to give him a little bit of a send-up. The gentleman I've got on the line here, his name is Gene Lundrum. He's a Ph.D., professor emeritus, author, a lecturer, and an entrepreneur extraordinaire. He is the founder of Chuck E. Cheese. Yes, you know that place you took your kids and you got the pizza and the kids played the games and got the little tickets and exchanged them for all sorts of goodies. It's just an amazing story. Gene, welcome to the show.
Hey, my pleasure, Mike. I was very impressed with your opening line there, because what you were saying, and it's absolutely true. When you get too big, you get too protective. When you get too big, if you get too my way or the highway, drives me crazy, right? Anyway, so what you were saying, I totally confirm and agree with, because I've written many books on the subject of how do you go do something from scratch. And just so you know, your listeners, I actually started 5 businesses from scratch, and I actually took 3 of them to $100 million in revenues.
Wow, that's an amazing track record.
And not many people have done that, Mike.
No.
But guess what? And the people say, "Why'd you leave?" I want to go start small again.
Well,
Anyway.
there's something to be said for building. You know, some people are gatekeepers and some people are builders, and you definitely are a builder. But let's go back to Chuck E. Cheese for a minute, because that's a hugely successful business. My offices are in downtown Long Beach, and there's literally a Chuck E. Cheese, I think, about 4 blocks from me. How did you come up? How did you come up with that idea? What was the inspiration for Chuck E. Cheese?
Well, that's a very good question, Mike, because a lot of people don't realize the whole concept. I don't know if you're aware of it, but every city in the United States has an ordinance that says you cannot have more than 2 corn-operated systems. And these laws were all passed back in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and it was they let you have 1 cigarette machine, which was corn-operated, and 1 pinball machine, because they thought pinball machines were an attraction for gun malls, drug addicts, et cetera, et cetera. So they didn't want you to have that. And this is a true story, Mike, so your question is really pertinent here, because what did I do? I was running around trying to figure out how to do a stage show, and so I went to Disneyland, and I sat in Disneyland actually for a week, watching all this, and I'm looking around and saying, wait a minute, Disneyland's got hundreds and hundreds of games. And nobody said, they can't have a bunch of games. And so you know what I did, Mike? This is a true story. I said, I know. And I had this inspiration. It was this, what I call accidental sagacity. I said, I know. I want a mini Disney. If I build a mini Disney, those idiots can't tell me I can't put more games in. and actually, that's what I tried to do, was just build a mini Disneyland that was on a localized basis, and I pulled it off.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I did that. This should keep in mind, it was 1977 when I first opened that very first one.
Where was that? Where was that first Chuck E. Cheese?
In San Jose, California.
Oh, in San Jose.
I did it in San Jose, and I was trying to do a lot of research, Mike. When you do a new thing, you want to know what's working, what's not working, why. And I am not sure you know this, but there's what you do. Pizza parlors they're all over, right? They're on various corners.
They are today. I mean,
and when I opened my place, I'm a real research nut, and I was doing a lot of research, and I was standing around the store. I was walking around asking guys. So I saw this dad that was sitting there with a beer. And I said, hey, man, what are you doing? And he says, oh, I have my daughter. See, she's over there playing the games. And she's running around. She ran over the table to get some more quarters. And she was smiling. He said, I love this place. I said, where'd you come from? He said, oh, I drove 45 miles. I said, you drove 45 miles to get here? He said, yeah. I said, are you where? You must have drove past 30 pizza joints. And he said, yeah, I know I did, but I'm not here for the pizza, man. I'm here for my daughter to be happy. I almost fainted.
Yeah.
I said, that's the business I'm in.
Uh-huh.
I am not in the pizza. And I'm going to tell you, I had a pizza manager, a number I hired. They thought they were in the food business. No, we're not in the food business, dude. We're in the entertainment business.
Right, absolutely.
And I don't know if you know, McDonald's copied one of my, I did it the first ever in the world, I believe. Now McDonald's has these ball crawls out in front of their stores.
Yeah, sure. Uh-huh.
I had one in that first store. They crawled up a big piece of Swiss cheese and slid down the balls. And I put that in, and then my manager said, what are you doing, dude? This is crazy. We're in the food business. And I said, well, look at the kids over there. They're all, the mothers with preschool children were sitting there having a glass of wine, eating a sandwich, and their kids were over there playing, and were happy. And then my manager came and said, you know what? Get that stupid ball crawl out of here. I said, why, man? He said, the kids are peeing in the balls.
Gross.
I said, I didn't know that, but you know what? we got some dishwashers back in the back every week. Wash the balls, dude.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Hey, look, we're coming up. We got about a minute left for a commercial break, but I want to reflect on what you've just said here, because I think there's a lesson out there for people who are running their own business or who are trying to launch an entrepreneurial venture. It really is important to understand what business are you in, and it's not always obvious. And you said, hey, we're not in the food business, we're in the entertainment business. Why are people actually coming here? I don't think a lot of small businesses think enough about reframing. I call it reframing the core business. And I think about it as up the street there's a dry cleaner from me who charges more than other dry cleaners, but she does so because she's not in the dry cleaning business. She is in the convenience business. It's easy for people to drop stuff off there than it might be in other dry cleaners. So really important. Absolutely. So look, we're going to have to break for commercials. I am speaking with Gene Lundrum. Gene is the founder of Chuck E. Cheese, entrepreneur, started 5 businesses, PhD, author, and we will be back with Gene right after these messages. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you were listening to our previous segment, we have been speaking with Gene Lundrum. Gene is the founder of Chuck E. Cheese, a professor. He's an author, a lecturer, started 5 different businesses. He was inducted into the CEO Entrepreneurial Hall of Fame. And Gene, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, especially since I got this bad cold. I can already talk.
Well, that's okay. Better you than me. That's all I have to say.
Okay, very good.
So you've been talking about how you discovered, or you came up with this idea that you need to define what business you're in. We talked about that you weren't in the food business, you were in the entertainment business, and how people should think who run businesses about reframing the business that they're in, maybe to get a better handle on how they should be attracting customers. But I'm sure you've got more than that lesson you've learned in your vast career.
Let me tell you about a lot of people will be pessimists. Your parents, your siblings, your friends will say, "What are you doing, man? What are you in this business?" I had a number of people say, "Gene, what are you doing?" Because I had an MBA and I'm a numbers guy and whatever. And they said, "What are you doing, man?" And this, I'll tell you, your listeners, an incredible story. The Chuck E. Cheese thing was bought by Warner. They paid us, paid Nolan Bushnell, who was chairman. I was president, $30 million. And they're buying Atari and takes over Chuck E. Cheese. And the Warner CEO is a Harvard guy. Comes in the store. He says, "Show me around, Gene." So I showed him around, and I went back and I got the costume. Go take him a pitcher of beer, and I sat down, and the guy said, "That costume is stupid." I said, "What?"
The costume?
He said, "Yeah, that's what this MBA guy out of what he said. The costume is stupid," and the kids are, of course, loving it. I said, "Well, why do you feel like that?" He said, "Why ask around, Gene? I'm not going around your back, but I heard you paid $5,000 for that costume." I said, "Well, that's true." And that's why I had it originally made. I had to go down to Hollywood, which I did, and got a costume maker who did a lot of the parks costumes. And I said I had to get it right. And I said I went through a number of iterations, and I did it. And he said, "Well, that's stupid." And I ignored him, just so you know. And he was doing a good job, making a lot of money, so he didn't fire me. But you know what the third costume cost?
No,
Mike?
no.
$300.
$300.
$300. Went from 5,000. And so one of the things I tell students these days, and where I lecture, never ever base decisions on original cost. Whatever you do the first time costs you a lot of money. After you do it a number of times, you learn how to save money and do them in volume. And so you know how many people, Mike, make decisions when they're getting going on what it costs to originally open whatever they did? That's what and you should never do that. Never. Don't do it. See, Dr. Gene said no.
Well, that's really good advice, because there's always that first learning. Whenever you do something for the first time, I mean, I've done this many times. You say, next time I could do that faster and cheaper. But it's part of the learning curve. It takes experience to really understand some of this stuff, and you become more efficient as an individual as you move forward.
Exactly.
But you got to try it the first time. Well, that's an amazing story. Hey, those Harvard those Harvard MBAs.
Well, I have
overrated.
another story that validates some of that, Mike, if we have time. I don't know if you. I tell people this, and they ask me. For the first 15 years of my life, Mike, I never had a paycheck. I was a straight commission kind of guy in the computer business, selling computer systems, selling software systems, selling all kind of stuff. I never had a paycheck. And why am I telling you this? It's not got to do with me. It's got to be with people who get on a salary. And I tell students this, and I said, look, when they give you a salary, what do you think they give you? They give you some number, so you're not making any less than that, but you're not making any more either. And just so you know, when I was pretty young, I was making big money, way more money than anybody else. My mother never got it. And guess what? And that's why realtors and consultants, they earn millions. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they are not on a fixed income. They are betting on themselves, and consequently, there's no upside. And so, anyway, I wanted your listeners to hear that.
Yeah, but Gene, I've had this discussion with many people. As a consultant, particularly going into companies. I'm actually working with a small company right now, and the idea is to try and incentivize the employees. They do not have any kind of a bonus program or a structure where employees can earn more. And I suggested, let's put something in place. But a lot of people are not comfortable with that. A lot of people, they need that security. I know I'm going to make
exactly.
I know I'm going to make my $5,000 a month or my $3,000 a month or whatever it is. And they don't want to take the risk that maybe they can't perform, or maybe they won't perform, or what have you. And I think it's a shame, because I think it really squelches to some degree the true entrepreneurial spirits that are out there that we could unleash if we would get more people just to be a little more I don't know, I guess it'd be accepting of the risk, but also anxious to get those rewards.
I totally agree with you, Mike. And one of the things I do in some of my lectures, I talk about listening rather than talking. The great geniuses, I've studied many of them, as you know, I've written many books on this, and they tend to, and I went and did some research, I found top salespeople listen 80% of the time, they speak 20%. They ask a question and shut up. And the people will tell you what turns them on and what they like. Now you know how to sell them. How do you do that with your mouth open?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're aware of it. You've probably seen this data because you do this stuff. 83% of sales are made to people who like you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Absolutely.
If they don't like you, you're in trouble.
I think that's just natural. I mean, we like to do business with people
right.
we like. It's no more complicated than that. And I think all of us have had the experience where we've been talking to a salesperson who tries to overwhelm us with facts, figures, numbers, and particularly some of the technical salespeople. They'll go and just you can't get them to shut up. They're on and off about all.
I
of,
know they go exactly.
Yeah, and
no,
really, what I'm looking for, I want to be comfortable with the person and be confident that when the problems and issues arrive, this person's going to do his job. I mean, that's really what we're looking for. It's amazing people don't understand
exactly.
that.
And my new book, as you probably know, is called Icons and Con Artists, and I've written about some of the great geniuses who changed the world, and I call them icons. How did Mark Twain do what he did, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things I've come up with, I call it be what you are plus be what you're not. And then you can be more than you could otherwise possibly be.
Wow, that's amazing.
So Dr. Geneism.
Your book is Icons and Con Artists. Now, can somebody get that where? On Amazon.com?
It's on Amazon.com now, and I have some, but hopefully at some point here you'll. It's Gene Landrum at earthlink.net is how people can reach me if they want to come back and ask me a question. But it's Gene Landrum at earthlink.net. And if they want one, I will personally autograph it for them for a present, for a graduation present for somebody or whatever. And they sell for $20, but I'll give them a special deal, or send them a book of quotes along with it for sure.
Okay. Well, that's great. So you can contact Gene at genelandrum at earthlink.net. You can also go to Gene's website, which is genelandrum.net, and check out. I'm a huge believer in reading. You just got to get that knowledge into your brain. You've got to listen to different people and listen to their thoughts and ideas. And I want to read this book. It sounds so interesting. Icons and Con Artists. Gene, look, we've got 30 seconds here. We're going to have to go for commercial break again. But this has been really, really great. And you also have authored quite a number of books. So if somebody checks out your website, are all of your books there?
Yes. Well, not all of them, but the last 8 or 10 are on there. Innovative Mind, which is a really neat book I just wrote a couple of years ago, How to Become Truly Innovative. I don't know if you know what, since we're signing out here temporarily, but innovation is creative destruction. To be truly innovative, you have to be creatively destructive. You got to destroy what is to get what isn't.
Gene, that's a
whole book about that.
That's a great thought, and let's talk about that more right after the break. It's Biz Rap Radio. Your host, Michael Manahan. We will be back with Gene Landrum, founder of Chuck E. Cheese, right after these messages. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. We are, of course, the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. Whatever it is you want to do, don't spend the rest of your life working for somebody else. Get out there, take a bit of a risk, and even if you can't leave your full-time job because you need the money, start a job on the side or start a business on the side. I mean, there's nothing greater than getting up on a Saturday morning and you and the family can work on your family business. And one day you may just make enough money that you can kiss your employer goodbye, be independent, and live really the life of an entrepreneur. And it's not just about making a lot of money, although you can make a lot of money running your own business and being an entrepreneur. It's also about being creative, doing something that is interesting, and having the freedom that comes with being the master of your own destiny. And speaking of masters of their own destiny, our guest today, Gene Lundrum, he is the founder of Chuck E. Cheese, and we've just been having an enthralling conversation with him. We've got him here for one more segment. So, Gene, thanks for sticking with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And in fact, let me just say something, because you keep mentioning it, but I do have a PhD. I have a lot of education, etc. But so your listeners know, it doesn't have a whole lot it's got more to do with what you're telling them than that formal education. And I say this because I am a professor and I do a lot of lecturing. And I just came from San Diego, where I was the keynote speaker down there on the Think and Grow Rich Foundation. But guess what? One of the things I told them, Mike, are you aware that Bill Gates, Michael Dell, Steve Jobs, who recently passed, Larry Ellison, 4 computer gurus, you know what the net worth? $150 billion,
wow.
Not million, billion, $150 billion. And together, Mike, they didn't have a college degree.
Wow, that's amazing.
And guess what? Here's what I'm trying to say here. Were they all bright? Yeah, real bright. But if they had gotten a college education, what do you think they would have done? that have been working at a desk somewhere for somebody,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, no, you're
Would
absolutely
they become
correct.
billionaires? No chance. No way. Can't happen. Okay, so that's my message. They need to know that.
Well, I think you and I are in agreement on that because I'm also an educator. I believe it or not, at my ripe old age, I am actually working on my doctorate. I'm still working on my dissertation. I hope to have it finished in the next year. I am an
Well, they take forever.
I am an educator. I teach finance and accounting, and I love teaching. But I'm the first one to tell you there's nothing that goes on in my classroom that you can't learn by yourself simply by either buying some books or going onto the internet. I mean, there's so much information out there. You don't have to have a formal education, but you do need to be open to learning, and there's so much you can do to learn. It just amazes me. Just look at YouTube. You Google a YouTube video, and there's a YouTube video that'll teach you just about anything you want to know. And so if you don't like reading, go to YouTube. If you do like reading, most of the people we have on the BizRap Radio show have stuff for free. They've got white papers, they've got downloads of ebooks, all sorts of things you can use to educate yourself without going and getting that formal education, which you may need if you're going to work in corporate America, but you don't need it if you're going to start your own business and be an entrepreneur.
You got it. In fact, on that note, I do a slide, and it's I spend a lot of time and energy, et cetera, on how the brain works, because I was always interested in, was it just IQ? And of course, it is not that. I've spoken at Mensa many, many, many times. I happen to have I'm lucky I have a very high IQ. But in any case, let me tell you how the brain works compared to skiing. Do you ski, by the way, Mike?
Oh, I'm an avid skier. I got my season's pass up at Mammoth, and every year I try to hit Whistler, and I skied in Europe this year.
Okay.
Yeah, avid skier.
Oh, okay. I was over at where was it? The Swiss Alps there. I was there this past year. But in any case, just so you know, I do an analogy of how the brain works compared to skiing. And if you look on a ski slope and find skiers who just find a path and they go straight down that path and they never want to get off that path, that is safe. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But that is safe. And are they going to learn to go down a steep hill? I don't think so. And guess what? I don't know if you're aware of it, how the brain works. Brain is the same way. This is very important for your listeners. Our brains work the same way. If you keep doing what you've been doing, and we tend to get into ruts and do that, read the same stuff and then the same eggs and do the same thing, the brains become atrophied. The brain becomes the same thing. The brain neurons, I've done a lot of work in this arena, just so you know, and the brain neurons will stay atrophied and the same. But if you will try new things, what happens is your brain grows and expands. And there's data only came out on this at the University of San Francisco in California at Berkeley in the last few years. Nobody knew this a few years ago. So this is really, really important. Use your brain like as if you were skiing. And if you want to ski a little bit better, you better get off of the given runs and go off on new paths. And if you want your brain to be better, you better let your brain go to new places. And you do that all the time, Mike. I'm proud of you, man. That's what you're doing.
well, I'll tell you, and I agree so much. It reminds me when my kids were young, we used to go skiing, and if the weather was bad, they would be complaining, I can't see, the visibility's bad, it's too windy, and it's snowing and the snow's getting in my eyes. And I would say, look, that's when you learn to ski. Anybody can ski on a beautiful sunny day when there's no wind and you've got perfect conditions. You learn to ski when the going is tough. And I guess what you're saying, it's kind of the same thing in life. When we have challenges in front of us and we tackle them, that presents a learning experience. And I think many of us do get into that rut, particularly as we start to get older. And I'm getting older now. I'm almost 60. That we stop challenging ourselves. And It saddens me when I see that. And I've got friends who I've known for many years, and it seems to me they've got to the stage in life where they've just kind of checked out. They're no longer engaged. Exactly. But if they get themselves engaged, the brain keeps growing. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right, Mike. And we're getting close to the end here. And I usually finish most of my things with, and I don't know if you're conversant with it or your listeners, what I call the poet's lament. When I was, teaching grade school, I always said, "No, we're going to talk about the poet's lament." And people look at me, and even the professors who were teaching poetry had never understood this. And this came out of a psychological British study. Poet's lament is write drunk, revise sober. What does that mean? Write drunk, revise sober. And I tell my students that you're writing a long paper for me, and you're having students do this. You could use this with them. And what's the meaning? No, I'm not telling you I'm not telling you to go get drunk. You're going to get me fired. You can't say that. What I'm saying is get loose, get wild, and when you get close to the end, then get into some reality. Go back and fix it. And I used to tell people, I said, I've written a lot of books. I said, I did my doctoral dissertation faster than anyone in the history of the university, Walden University. I did it in 9 months. The average time was 6 years. Mm-hmm. I did it in 9 months. And the professor, I never forget, from Duke University, he said, man, I want to go in business with you. What in the hell did you do? This is incredible. How could you do that? And I said, you know what? I started with the answer. And he said, what? I said, yeah, I knew where I was going. Here's the answer. And then I went back to the beginning, and then all I had to do was I had a straight track, and I just sat down and went, boom.
Wow, that's amazing. So there you go. What is it? Write, drunk, edit, sober. Probably something Ernest Hemingway practiced, I'm thinking.
Oh, exactly. No, some of the great geniuses. Look at Richard Branson. What do you think? That's what he's about. Yeah. That's what you do. Get goofy, and then go revise the goofy.
Okay,
you got to do that. And as you can tell, I'm about to collapse here.
Well, that's okay. Gene, I really appreciate it. I know you're not feeling well, and thank you so much for being with us. It's been fabulous speaking with you. I'm so glad we made the connection. I appreciate your time.
No, if we can do another thing again, I'd be happy to do it, and I'll get you in my book, my new book on icons. But right now, I'm not doing well at all, and I got to get over it. I think she's going to put me in the hospital because I think I got pneumonia.
Oh, my gosh. Well, that's definitely not good. Gene, you take care of yourself. It is Mike Manahan, your host, Biz Rap Radio, and we will be back right after these messages. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for sticking with us. If you missed that last segment, that was Gene Lundrum. Now, Gene was the founder of Chuck E. Cheese. Wow, what a story. A great innovator, great businessman. A lot of insights from Gene. Wonderful gentleman to listen to and hear how his mind works. Just amazing how that entrepreneurial mind is so active. And many, many, many years after he founded Chuck E. Cheese, it sounds as if his mind is still very, very active. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about. It amazes me that I find so many people out there who, for whatever reason, are afraid to get people to help them. And look, sometimes you can get people to help you for nothing, and that's great. There's a lot of the guests on our show. They'll have a conversation with you. You can spend an hour on the phone with them. They'll help you out, give you some advice, give you some thoughts and ideas. Many of them have free white papers or ebooks or other utility packages on their websites that you can use to help start to analyze your business more effectively. But, of course, some of them do charge for their services, and there seems to me to be a huge reticence on the part of some small business owners to actually cough up the money and pay experts to assist them. Now, they're happy to pay for the product that they sell, Happy to pay rent, happy to pay advertising, even if in many cases it's not very good advertising. And of course, they're happy to pay the employees that work for them. But a small business, let's face it, you don't have the resources to hire a VP of marketing for $200,000 a year, or a VP of sales for $200,000, or a chief financial officer for a couple of $100,000 a year. You're not making that much money, yet you still need some of those resources and expertise. And often you can get that same expertise that you need on an interim or a part-time basis for, of course, tremendously less money than paying somebody a couple $100,000 a year. Maybe it's an investment of $10,000, $15,000. But it's expertise that can help you do a better job of running your business. Let's face it, you don't know everything, and other people out there know stuff that you don't, and you want to take advantage of that when you can. So go to the websites, check out the previous shows we've had, check out our guests, go to their websites, get all of their free stuff, because as I say, all of them offer free stuff, and many of them will have a free phone consultation with you. But then look at where there's the real weaknesses in your organization. Where do you really need help? And then consider maybe paying somebody on a part-time basis. I love the concept of a permanent part-time arrangement with an expert who can assist you with your business, but doesn't cost you the same as what a full-time person would cost you. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's say you're weak in the financial area, so you need a chief financial officer or a controller. Well, you go in the market and you find out, okay, the guy that you need in your company is probably going to cost $150,000 to $200,000 a year. So I can't afford $200,000 a year. Well, maybe you could afford $50,000 a year, and you find somebody who maybe works for you one day a week and is available other days for meetings or phone conferences, and you pay him $1,000 a week. And, now you've got a $200,000 a year guy, but it's only costing you $50,000. And look, if you can't afford the $1,000 a week, maybe you find somebody who will do it for $500 a week. And so you get that high-level financial expertise without having to put somebody on the payroll for $200,000 a year. I love that model. I've done that for a number of companies. What I call a part-time permanent chief financial officer, work one day a week, half a day a week, come in at the end of the month for a strategy session, review financial statements and review projections type of thing. And I think it adds great value to the business, but the business doesn't have to pay a huge amount of dollars. They don't have to carry a $200,000 a year salary to get that kind of expertise. So I would really recommend you consider that. And nowadays, with so many people, particularly some of the older folks who are maybe trying to take it a little easier, maybe they don't want the pressure of a $250,000 a year job, but they still want to stay active. That's a perfect type of person to get involved in your business. And there's many websites you can go to kind of find these people. I mean, if nothing else, you could put an ad on Craigslist, which I have done, by the way, on occasion, and I've hired people off of Craigslist in the past. Another option is websites like I think it's called Zintro, which is kind of a website where consultants go and put their their expertise up on that website, and you can go and hire them. But don't make the mistake of thinking you can do it all yourself. Really, bringing experts in is a good way to leverage what you've already developed. And interestingly enough, if you do a little research into how venture capital companies invest their funds, one of the things you'll find is they would much rather invest in a team than an individual. So an individual may come up with a great idea, and he may even have begun implementing that idea. But at the end of the day, it takes a team to execute. You need a finance guy. You need somebody who can help with the marketing. Maybe if it's a tech company, you need a technology company, a technology expert. Or maybe if it's a manufacturing company, you need a manufacturing expert. And venture capital investors and a lot of early stage investors look for the company that's been able to develop early on a team effort, even if some of those team members are not necessarily full-time on the project today. The concept is, of course, is as funds are raised and the business grows, those people may become more involved in the business. But it shows a couple of things. If you develop a good team, from the investor's perspective, it shows that, first of all, you have an openness to working with others. And, that's important because we don't, every idea doesn't originate with you. A lot of good ideas come from other sources. The other issue is that, again, as the business grows, one man cannot do it all. And having a team actually makes it easier to grow and build the business. So if you're trying to grow your business, if you're struggling with not having all of the expertise in-house that you think you should have, and you're also in the situation where you can't afford the salaries of the experts who could help you, I really recommend seeing if you can find somebody who can help you on a part-time basis, whether it's half a day a week, whether it's 1 day a week, whether it's coming in once every couple of weeks or once a month for a strategy session. And by the way, you'll find that there are people out there who will not only do it, obviously they'll do it for the money, but there may be people out there who will help you for a small piece of your company. And so maybe you still can't afford somebody even on a part-time basis. So maybe you go back and you say, I'll tell you what, I won't pay you, or I won't pay you for a year, or I'll pay you a de minimis amount, a small amount of dollars, but I'll give you 5% of my company. And as soon as we get rolling, then we're off to the races, and you'll eventually we'll sell the company, or when we make profits, you'll get 5% of the profits. There are people who are willing to become involved in those types of situations, but it's about building your team. You need more than just you as an individual entrepreneur to really get your business to take off. Well, that's it for this week's show. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, it's Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio. At BizRap Radio, we believe we can fix the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulation and a planned economy. Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio. Join us again next week.